welcome to another episode of the AI People, where thinkers and builders share stories on how they are humanizing AI. Today we have Arun Thiyagarajan, Principal Product Manager at AWS. Arun, why don't you kick us off with a short introduction?
Sure, thanks Vivek. Hey folks, my name is Arun Thiyagarajan. I'm a product manager at AWS. Been with AWS for close to 8 years now. Initial part of my experience, I led product management for a very well-known AWS service called the Database Migration Service and Schema Conversion Tool. Sort of a boomerang, I left AWS after 5 years there, went to Microsoft to lead the migration strategy for Azure open source databases. And as of the past 2 years or so, I'm back at AWS. We recently launched a brand new service called Migration Hub Journeys, and I am the product owner for the Migration Hub platform.
That's great to hear. So today we will be talking about RAG.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting, but I would love to learn more about this innovative new framework to apply AI. So can you explain what is RAG? Why do we need RAG?
Sounds good. In fact, the one thing I'd like to call out is the fact that the AI, ML, and the Gen AI space is growing so fast. RAG is actually not that new anymore. There are more frameworks that people claim to be more effective, like React, reasoning and acting, that produce much better results in certain scenarios. We can dive deeper into those as well. But RAG, in other words, it's the full form of retrieval augmented generation. So the way a Gen AI model works, it's like a subset of the entire ML infrastructure, where it predicts the next string of data based on the data it's been fed and based on the data it's been trained on. It does those predictions, and those predictions are simply limited to that foundational model on which everything has been trained on. Now, where RAG comes into picture is, basically according to that full form that I called out, retrieval augmented generation, you can augment more data on top of the foundational model. It could be your team specific data or your company specific data, in order to generate better, very focused and personal results on top of the public data the foundational model is trained on. Basically giving it much better information, thereby when you ask it a more personalized question, the LLM or the foundational model, the large language model, is able to make this delineation between it being publicly known information versus privately known information. And if it knows that you're asking a question from the privately known information, it's intelligent enough to pull it from the RAG, get predictive stuff from the foundational model, combine those results and give you a much better personalized answer. So that's the advantage of having a RAG. And that's where, while it's very advantageous, things around security, privacy, and all the other things in that Pandora's box open up, and it's a big discussion in the community itself as to how you can be secure, how you can audit this data, make sure you're not using competitive data and things like that as well. So that's the big story and the swing around RAG and how it's useful, but at the same time, looking at the other side of the coin, it can be very difficult to maintain the security and the privacy of the RAG content. Right?
So yeah, one of the challenges with applications like ChatGPT is that beyond a certain scope, we are not able to leverage these applications. Like you said, I cannot feed my personal data, my intellectual property. If I'm an organization, I don't want to expose my proprietary data sets to ChatGPT to get answers. So it seems like what you're saying is RAG is kind of a alternative, a workaround for this particular problem. So can you talk to us about what AWS is doing in this space? What are some of the new offerings that the company has introduced, and how, if you can give us like a sense of how the technology stack is set up?
I'll take a step back and talk about how the problem sort of multiplies itself, right? You had a very good example around uploading your own data sets. Not often can you upload large data sets. It's going to take you a lot of time to synthesize it, filter it, do a lot of ETL, extract, transform, and load from multiple data sources. And that's going to take a lot of time, and nobody has that kind of time, right? That is problem number one. Problem number two is you need these AI applications to interface directly with your apps that egress data out of them for you to go make good analysis out of it. And the problem number three is, let's say you're part of a large company, and basically even within company there are different data tiers, and within each tier you have access rules. So for example, let's say you and I work in company X, and I have access to the accounting data while you do not, right? Now, the problem with downloading and uploading into a central RAG or a central Gen AI model means folks like yourself who do not have the access might also get access through other means. So companies need to really think about just the access rules, maintaining the access rules, and basically throughout the data infrastructure, and that's where the governance around this data becomes very important as well. And some of the data governance frameworks out there are just not at a place yet in terms of governing how Gen AI models take in this data and use that data in a more permission-based model as such. So AWS takes a very unique swing at this problem. We do have a stack of Gen AI based infrastructure. At the bottom of the stack is all of our base infrastructure on which customers usually build their own LLM, build their own RAG context, etc. I'm talking about our compute instances that carry the inferentia chips or the trainium chips in order to train and inference from large data sets. And a lot of companies out there like Databricks and Kodak, they have really tried to utilize that in terms of reducing the time to do these trainings and inferences, but also reduce the overall cost as well. We've been having this relationship with NVIDIA for over 10 years, and we've built this infrastructure and we know what we're doing. And on top of that is the middle layer, which publicizes known public foundational models. And this service is called Amazon Bedrock. Not only does it publicizes these models like Claude from Anthropic, Llama 2 from Facebook or Meta, and yesterday we launched the Mistral models that is really good for automatic code generation and summarization aspects and things like that as well. So it not only exposes these models for everybody to use, as opposed to you creating your own, spending time and dollars to create your own model. You could use these public models with a lot of guardrails and access control around it. So that is the middle layer. These are API compatible public foundational models that you could use. Bring in your own data, work around it in order to bring in that private context we talked about in the first place. And then there is this top layer where Amazon has used the middle layer, which is Amazon Bedrock, to really make the private RAG updates a bit more easy through this service called Amazon Q that was launched last year at re:Invent. I did build an app on Amazon Q, so you guys are going to quickly see a demo, quick 5-minute demo on what the power of the platform. Basically, it is a Q&A chatbot. So there are different ways in which you can use Amazon Q. Some of the services within the AWS ecosystem are automatically using Amazon Q to convert natural language questions into API calls and really getting answers back to these customers. But you can also point what we call a business application to a bunch of data sources like documents, a bunch of databases, etc., in order to generate a privatized RAG, put it behind an identity provider. So people in that identity provider who are authenticated via that identity provider are the only people who can access this app. So you can really control the access to some proprietary information and basically make sure unauthorized access is never a thing again. So Amazon's not only working at the infrastructure level, because that's what AWS is predominantly known for, but we are taking it a step ahead in terms of making it a bit more easier to use and providing examples and models for different users to follow.
Correct. So it seems like for organizations that really want to scale and operationalize generative AI with frameworks like RAG. Amazon is offering full suite of capabilities across the technology stack, and now the focus for the enterprise or the business is really to figure out what are some of the valuable use cases where they can bring AI to business, how to put things into practice, so they don't really have to worry so much about the technology part, which the companies like AWS are addressing.
And a couple of tidbits from my experience, at least, right? Just like how the industry shifted in the 70s from mainframe to client-server computing, and then when cloud became a thing, everybody just switched to the cloud because all your capital costs magically became operational costs. I feel like we are at a similar swing of an industry's change with Gen AI and information. The expectation after ChatGPT became a thing from OpenAI is, hey, I don't want to search anymore. I just want to ask it natural language-based questions. So everybody is looking to move that way. So in the future, in the near future, there's going to be a time when everything is going to have some sort of a Gen AI use case. That is number one. Number two, given the privacy and the security concerns I talked about, including data theft and things like that, just like how companies have to go through a tax audit, how companies have to go through different kinds of audit, I believe at some point, given the amount of data sharing happening, there's going to be, hey, give me an audit of how you're using Gen AI, what kind of data are you using? Are you gaining any competitive advantage in an unfair manner? I see the world going towards that, and everybody is going to go do that, and that's where these commonalized frameworks, the common foundational models like companies like Anthropic, Meta, and Google are building is going to really help get us there and make Gen AI in terms of being very fair to everything that it's able to do and its capabilities.
Correct. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing your foresight, and I know you've been in the data analytics AI realm for quite some time. For our audience, some of them who are interested in AI and they want to they're looking for entry points, right? What would be some of your advice, recommendations for them?
So it's very important, in my opinion, to know that Gen AI in general is a very small subset of machine learning. So everything that starts from the basics with statistics and machine learning and deep learning, everything applies to AI. So AWS has a bunch of courses in this thing called the Machine Learning University. Some of it is free of cost. So I'd recommend starting there because it goes right from the basics and then shows you different things about the different branches of Gen AI that you could probably go use. Multimodal inputs and outputs, text-based generation, automatic code generation, and various other things. So I'm sure with data and with the field you are in and your interests, you can find one or more branches that really interest you and take your research from there on. But my recommendation would be to start at the fundamental layer, understand a bit more about this technology before you choose your branch and go forward in terms of going deeper into these.
That's great. So we will dive right into your demo now. But otherwise, thank you so much for being with us today.
Of course.
And looking forward to learn more about what AWS has to offer after we catch your demo.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks, this is the AWS console in the North Virginia region. And I'm going to give you a demo of a generative AI application I created in Amazon Q. So Q is currently in public preview, and there are several applications of Q. One of those applications is coming out from the console side assist, and you can ask questions about AWS in general, but this is the one that provides those guardrails I discussed in the previous segment with Vivek. Basically, the idea is simple. You create what they call a generative AI application. You name it, you select a data retriever. By data retriever, I mean, configuring how Amazon Q retrieves details from the data sources. You can even use Amazon Kendra here. You enhance the application, you add more plugins, add, configure admin controls and topic guardrails, for example. And then you go put the entire app behind an identity provider and, customize it, preview it, and then deploy this behind the identity provider to share a URL with your team. So when you do it with your own identity provider, like, folks in your organization are the only ones who would be able to access that app. So I work in the migration space, helping customers migrate to AWS. I created my own generative AI app with some migration related details. As you can see, I've not deployed it behind an IDP. I didn't go all the way, but I can show you a preview of the web experience. Basically, what's going on here is there are a bunch of data sources that Amazon Q supports. Imagine you're a company trying to create a generative AI app yourself. So these are the different out-of-the-box data sources that you can add. Right now, I've added an S3 bucket, some web crawlers where I've asked it to crawl URLs and sub-URLs. I've uploaded some files, but nothing is stopping you from adding a database or a Jira instance or flat files and Slack or anything into this experience for it to train, crawl, index, and make it available for natural question and answers. So as you can see here, let me show you one of the examples I trained. These are migration white papers in AWS, and I've trained about 2,586 of them, multi-page. Some of them run into dozens of pages as well. It took about 25 hours to train, and you can even set the sync schedule. You could say, hey, sync this every week, or just sync it right now and keep it as a one-time controlled sync. So in all, in this particular model, I've trained close to more than 5,000 documents, all very credible migration to the cloud related white papers and publicly available documentation related details. So let's preview the web experience. So I can say, I can customize it like I called out. This is my own GenAI app. I can save it. I'm just going to leave it as is. And I can I can ask it, hey, how do I migrate to AWS? So what this is doing is it's only searching. We've given it a better RAG index in the sense we're asking it specifically to use the power of LLM, but only search within the context of this particular generative AI app. So it's not going out anywhere. As you can see, it's picked up details from the sources. You can see that it's picked up details from a file I uploaded to the model, and also some of the URLs I trained it with. These URLs, while they look public right now, you can train them using your own internal wiki URLs or SharePoint URLs within your own company, and thereby keep it very secure for your own business from using generative AI type things in order to search through a knowledge base and maybe use it to add more context for your search applications by itself. So that's a pretty quick demo of Amazon Q. It is built in an extensible manner, multiple data sources, and really enables you to make applications like this come up really quick. Thank you.